distance in the light, vibration of a thundercloud.
Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and this is the My Sober Addiction podcast and the Breaking My Addictions podcast, because we are going to put this on Clive's and on the MSA. But anyway, we are happy, healthy, wealthy, loved, and free. And I am joined by Clive and Dom again, which I am very excited about because it's been a little while. We always chat on the WhatsApp group, and that's great. It is a lot of encouragement there. If you have not joined that yet, you should. There have been quite a few new people joining lately, and it's been really cool getting to know some new people. And you just drop in and drop out as you can. I mean, so sometimes I go days without popping on there, and then there's other days I'll spend almost the entire day, or it seems like, on there. So it's just as you can. Very supportive and very encouraging. So anyway, hello, Clive.
Good afternoon. And yeah, like I say, the WhatsApp group's been really encouraging, I think, over the last couple of weeks. We've had some really interesting people join, some really good energy in there. If people do want to join, they can go to the Breaking My Addictions website, which is breakingmyaddictions.com. And if you find it on there, you can just join up and turn your notifications off so you're not getting spam. But there's about 8 different subgroups, from creativity to jokes to supportive chats. And what I find for myself is that connection with other people, being able to support someone else and be supported yourself, is a really healthy thing within trying to move your life forward, I think, and trying to live slightly more positively. When you're isolated, it's very easy, I think, to start doing things that are not always to your own best interest in the long term. When you're within a group and a supportive group, it gets easier to start celebrating the things that are moving you forward. And that's why, this podcast today, we're talking about whether we feel addiction should be termed as a disease or not. And it's quite a controversial topic. But I think it is a good discussion. It's a healthy one to have. So you may not agree with our discussion, but again, that's what discussions are for. If you don't agree, then that raises a new thought, and that enables you to think a little bit differently. And then you create your own argument and your own story about stuff.
I'm in total agreement.
Good.
And, well, one thing that pops into my head when we talk about the idea of addiction being a disease or not, and this is something I probably mentioned before, I remember when I learned about the origins of Alcoholics Anonymous. And there were 2 people that I found quite surprising, other than the original members, but 2 people that were quite surprising who had a lot to do with the initial setup. One of them was Carl Jung. And Carl Jung, I do believe, had a lot of positive input. The 12 steps, I think, were inspired a little by some of the mystic Islam, Sufism that comes from North Africa. They have an idea of stations. So when you're in a state of growth, you have certain stations you go to that help you to evolve to enlightenment. Whereas the surprising thing for me is that somehow something like Alcoholics Anonymous turned out to be a place where people don't get enlightened. So you don't get better. So if Carl Jung, who is a person who talks about growth, I mean, he makes growth very important. I get the idea that he didn't really set the ball in motion for an organization that was actually changing the world at the time to be an organization that was telling people that they weren't going to grow. At the end of the day, the choices are ours. And I think that when we start to understand that instead of having lots of different good choices, instead of saying, well, should I make a choice about whether to drink or not, or to drink too many or not, or to eat sugar or whatever. I mean, we tend to have loads of different choices. But for me, I've just started to look at a simple thing. In the moment, I have a good choice or a bad choice to make. And that's how I've simplified my life. I don't make it about addiction, drugs, alcohol, sugar, dairy. I mean, the bread we eat. I mean, there's so many things at the moment we've got to choose between. And I've turned all of that into the simple, in the moment, good choice or a bad choice.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that, because like with regards to choices, like I have talked about on the podcast before, how when we get into, fully active addiction, there were days, I mean, geez, for years at a time, I guess, that I was on total autopilot where I did not, I can't say I felt like I was not in control because I wasn't really even present, or at least it didn't seem that way. Of course, I was here. I mean, I was functioning and all that good stuff. But it's like, if, for example, I said, I really need to get sober. And I'm like, okay, what I'm going to do is, like, for example, in America, how you usually have to do it if you want to go to a detox facility where they will medically help you detox, whatever. You need to go in and full withdrawals. And the reason for that is because of the medication that they give you, but we don't need to get into that. But the point is, you have to go through a good 24 hours so that you are in full-blown withdrawals by the time you arrive at the facility. And that's not what an addict is. That's not what addiction is going to allow you to do, is do that. That's something you really have to make a minute by minute decision to do. But it's really easy to fall into that autopilot. The thing I've mentioned before, where you just kind of on autopilot. Like, for example, I would one day decide, okay, it's time. I've got to do this. I'm going to do my last little bit right here, right now. And then I'm going to ride out that and get into withdrawal so that I can go to this detox facility this time tomorrow or whatever. And then that's fine, or everything, whatever. Then the next day I wake up and the first thing I do is start looking for drugs or start, trying to get my money together or whatever the case may be, whatever you have to do to hustle it up and get your dope. But I would realize later I was completely on autopilot. I did not, I was out of my mind. It was as if I was completely checked out and my body was just going through the motions, calling my drug dealer, whatever I had to do to make it happen that day. But it was as if, and then later I would kind of come to, you almost kind of become conscious all of a sudden and be like, damn, I just did that, and I had the intention all along of not doing it, but yet I did. And I can't even explain how that happened because, man, in my mind, I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. But yet you're freaking doing it, man. Your body is doing the motions. You're texting your dope dealer or you're calling whatever, your guy that's going to give you a ride, whatever the case may be, whatever motions, whatever hustle you have to go through to get there. And to me, that's kind of the weird part is like, is it a disease or is it wasn't a choice that I made. It was something that I just automatically did. But then again, that could be from choices that I made in the past, but it's like, yeah, but I'm choosing not to do that now. But yet here I am still doing it. It's crazy. It is. And I don't know how to explain it. I'm just telling you how it works. And hey, maybe we can find the answer here right now. That would be great. We can right now. All these decades of people trying to solve it. We get it done in about
the answers are here, aren't they? I know that.
Yeah.
I know that you've been living a rather wonderful life recently, Clive. So tell us about what you've been up to.
Well, again, this is just making the shift to make things better around ourselves. Like you were saying the other day that, if you start to tidy your house and you live in a better environment, then suddenly you start to value other things a bit more. And I think when everything falls apart around you, it's very easy to reach for things that make you feel better in the moment. Be that a cigarette, be that a drug fix, be it a drink. And actually, when you improve things around you dramatically and you get on top of things and you have good social connections, good support groups, you have a nice environment that you're living in, you're eating nice food, suddenly huffing a can of gas does not seem as appealing as it did before, or sniffing glue. How many people have the sniffing glue disease in their 50s? It's not a thing of choice. It's a thing of availability and a lack of other options. And, if I have a choice of, walking to work in a t-shirt in the freezing weather or having a nice jacket and getting a limousine, it's not a disease if I end up walking in my t-shirt. It's not even necessarily a choice. It's just sometimes it's situational. It's like that's what is around me and that is what I am having. And again, always to bang back to the rat park experiment, but when they improved the conditions of the rats, they chose not to take the drugs. You know, and this is something that I've found. There are certain drugs that do kind of hook you into wanting to do it again and again. They're kind of pleasure drugs, you know, the kind of cocaines, the heroin, the nicotine, the drink, or they're escapist drugs. And other drugs like the psychedelics, for example, you don't tend to get people as addicted to those. They tend to be hard work. You know, they are unveiling the Jungian shadows and stuff. And people don't seem to get the disease of getting addicted to mushrooms, for example. It's just not a pleasurable experience for most people. It's an experience, and it's one that people value sometimes, and we're not recommending anyone does it, but like it's, you know, suddenly that is not so addictive. You know, some things are a lot more addictive than others. And, you know, for someone who's been addicted to nicotine and sugar and alcohol and those things, they are very addictive. I don't think it was a disease within me. I think there was a dis-ease within me. You know, there was a lack of ease and a lack of happiness and a lack of centeredness within myself. And when I'm off center, I am much more like to grab for a short-term fix to put me back in center, I think.
That's a great point. Yeah. That is a great point, because, yeah, I mean, it's you that, well, like the Rat Park. You know, I don't talk much because I don't want to implicate. I don't talk much about exactly what brought me to addiction. There was something that happened, and the opioids just happened to be available at the time when something happened in my life that was traumatic, maybe, I guess is the word. It was more of a, anyway, like I said, I don't really want to get into it because that implicates a particular person, and I'm not trying to get into that. But it was like, okay, do I deal with this? I don't want to deal with this. This is terrible. Nobody wants, there was something that nobody would want to deal with. And the opioids just happened to be there. And it was, I tried them just for fun, and very quickly realized, wow, I don't have to deal with anything when I'm doing these things. I can just, getting the high part was fun at first, but then, that goes away really quickly. Eventually you're not getting high anymore. You're just coping, I guess. And then the next thing, you're fully addicted to it. And then on the autopilot, like I mentioned a minute ago, but I mean, so I kind of like referring back to the Rat Park thing. If everything's perfect, if your life is just, clicking on all cylinders or whatever, everything is going great, then addiction doesn't really have an appeal. It's like, nah, I don't need to do that. There's no hole to fill. There's no void there. So I'm good. Right. But if you're not good, then those things do seem to find a way to become available to you, right?
I mean, I would argue that it's not necessarily about life being good or bad, even particularly. It is our perception of it. And I know, for example, I mean, I've known Dom for like probably 25 years now. And when I first met Dom, I was very much, very distraught with the world and, the way the world was around me. It was very unfair, to other people. It really had a big impact on me. I was working in kids' residential care and stuff like that. And I could see a lot of pain and distortion. And that's what my mind focused on. And that made me a lot more prone to wanting to fix myself on the quick with little escapisms. And it's taken me a long time to shift that perspective on the world. The world has not actually changed at all, but my perception of it has changed. And again, I've been listening to a lot of Peter Crone at the moment. I do recommend that people go and check out his videos. He just says, if you can accept reality as it is, for whatever it is, then actually you stop fighting it and it stops being so much of a problem. And like literally, I might have no money but as soon as I stop being expecting that I should have money, then actually it's not a problem anymore. Like I'm just dealing with the moment. At this precise moment, I have exactly enough to be okay. Even if I was on the street, am I okay? Am I safe in this moment? And, they say a lot of people, they ruin their entire lives with imagined futures. They're living in this projected future the whole time. Yes, I'm concerned that maybe in a year's time I just still don't own a house and this, that, and the other, and it's a worry. But it's only a worry if I worry about it. Actually, if I start living in the moment, actually, I'm more inclined to get my business in order, to start generating more income, to start living better, start living healthier, maintain my health. And that's why I started the One Clear Breath website, because this idea that within one moment of just one breath, am I okay? And like Don was saying, that one moment of this moment, am I okay? And yeah, actually, if you are breathing in clean air and you are safe, great. If not, get the heck out of there, move somewhere safer. That's your priority. But if you are safe, you are then in a position to be able to make good choices. Like Don was saying, to have that moment where you decide, is this a good choice? So like, for example, I got back from a run just before this podcast. Even going for a run was a choice I made. I don't have a running disease. I chose to run. And I didn't feel like it, but then when I get out, I feel good. I got back and my immediate reaction was, I want some crisps or chocolate. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to raid the cupboard for some crisps and chocolate. And I've been eating healthy, whole food for the last 2 weeks. And I had that urge. And then I was like, I don't have any crisps or chocolate. And I was like, but I have a whole load of avocados over there and I'm very lucky to have those. And I went and cut open 2 avocados, felt very luxuriant to be able to have 2 avocados, and I ate them. And that was great. But I had a choice, but I made that choice easier for myself by not buying a multi-pack of crisps and having it in the cupboard, for example. That was helpful. But I don't have a crisp eating disease. I've got quite a weak-willed nature, and I tend to go for things that are easy or short-term pleasurable. That's just me. I've always been like that. I've always had sugar. I've always had nicotine. I've always had alcohol. I like it.
That's a know thyself, isn't it? Because when you were talking earlier, Matt, about if the wife's happy, then there's no reason to go and do something that's addictive. But there'll be another personality type that'll be, well, the wife's happy, now I've got some time to go and do something addictive.
Yeah.
And,
right. Okay.
And that's the useful thing to know about ourselves. And I don't think we have to know that much about ourselves. It's just that we lie to ourselves about a lot of things because we're fed information that deceives us. So all we have to do is just deceive ourselves a little bit. And one of those ways to do that is to make life simpler. And this is, if I was going to summarize Peter Crone says, simplify life, it's all okay. And I'm going to deliver this in a very intelligent manner that comfortably allows you to do that. That's it, really. A lot of religions say that. They say get closer to God. Getting closer to God doesn't mean going and living near this deity. It means just get rid of the complications, get nearer to the source, which is unity. And what we've done is we've filled our life with distractions that are just an overextended complication of life. We don't need it.
Tell me this. Something you said a minute ago, particularly, Dom, it reminded me, there's a guy, his name's Daryl Anka, I'm not sure. Anyway, he's a channeler. Don't know how you feel about that. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But he channels an entity that goes by the name Bashar. Now, like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about the whole channeling entities, whatever, extraterrestrials, or whatever the case may be. However, the things that Bashar says there's a lot of wisdom there, regardless of where it comes from. And then sometimes when I'm listening, I'm like, dang, I don't even know that this could come out of a person, because anybody I know, that's brilliant. I mean, it's a lot of just deep wisdom. Anyway, so now that I've set that up, a lot of things that Bashar says to do are to, whatever excites you in the moment. In other words, if you have a choice A and choice B, which one is more exciting? Which one is going to bring you more joy, or whatever the case may be? But decision by decision, minute by minute, what excites you in the moment? What's going to make you feel good? What's going to make what makes you feel like this is, that's what I ought to do, not this. that makes me feel happy. And, usually making bad decisions is not going to make you happy. That's usually the decisions we make when
it
we're
can
not.
do short term, I think, Matt. I think bad decisions short term can be really great. They're quite exciting.
Right. And maybe if you think it all the way, maybe you should,
Where's the parachute?
before you do it. Yeah, before you do it, sure. Okay, I can agree with that. However, there's been many times we've done things that was like, oh yeah, this is going to be fun. As soon as we do it, I mean, literally the second we're finished, it's like, that was stupid. And then you feel really dumb. You feel like I shouldn't have done that and all that. So maybe the whole what excites you in the moment, like right now, maybe think it through one step further, just beyond that. But anyway, what you said, something you said a minute ago made me think of that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, because a lot of the things that Bashar says are very inspiring. Can
I just try and give another perspective on channeling? Imagine that you saw an actor who was one of those actors who's very good at doing different voices. And suddenly they decided to take on some other tone of another person. But not only have they picked up on another tone, they picked up on another channel. Because actually, what we do is we inhabit these channels. Let's say I'm being Dominic at the moment, and I, sometimes historically I've been a bit of an arse sometimes or whatever, and I'm channeling that. That's the Dominic. But what if I channeled this other person who's like a Viking warrior, speaking in Shakespearean tones? But that's me as well, right? Because what I'm doing is I'm actually channeling something that's another thread that I could easily hop onto forever if I wanted to. And I think, again, this is what we're talking about. I mean, Clive's talking a lot about this at the moment, actually. I think one thing Clive is doing at the moment, if you don't mind me saying this, but, I think that you're talking about moving your channel. You're moving your channel to better friends, better choices, better locations, better food. There's a lot of things you're doing. And, these are not temporary things. So when we're doing that, it's almost as if we're channeling there. And I would suggest that we have myriads, billions of different perspectives. That all we need to do is just reach out and pick them up. And some of them not kind as well. I think that's one thing Jordan Peterson's talking about at the moment. He said that sometimes it's useful to understand the unkind parts of ourselves. Don't deny them. Say, well, that's there, but I know they're there. Then I can actually make a choice to be the nice guy. That's why I actually went through a fair period a number of years ago with that one. It was knowing that there were shit bits of me and then saying, well, look, accept them and make it a choice to actually be the nice person. Don't make the statement all the time. Don't try and make it a thing in the world. Anyway, so I've gone on too far there. But thanks for that, Clive, because that has been an inspiring thing. The fact that you've been reiterating that, and it's something that it's useful you doing that for it to be a reminder as well. That's where having friends and a channel to support each other, I think, is a really useful thing.
But this is it again with the support group. Is once you start creating that ethos and energy, then actually people pick up on the good bits, and then we start channeling it back to each other. And I need it reflected back to me as well, because sometimes when you're doing something, it's helpful to have it reflected back a little bit in other people. And as soon as you can see it's having an effect, it's useful. So it's kind of a selfish and altruistic thing to try and help others. But I would suggest being part of networks and groups. Helping other people while they help you is a really, really good thing. We are social creatures. Yeah. And actually, on the whole, most people are pretty nice and will do what they can to help you. If you say to someone, any chance you could give us a hand? Most people will say yes. And the people who don't say yes, I suggest you probably don't want to hang around with as much.
No. Just not... Not useful people. This is one thing I do believe is that if we learn early in life that helping others helps us more, the world would be a different place. Because it's true. I mean, I'm lucky I learned that. Actually helping other people helps me more. And so I'm not being a twat for helping other people and thinking it's just for me. I just know that. I just know that actually, might as well help people.
It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back to you. But Clive, on with what Don was saying. I mean, you have been inspirational to me, and obviously to Dom and myself, and I would assume and everybody else too, because there are times when, you know, if I've had a very busy day and it's just, and I just want to be like, you know, do some, you know, I don't know, maybe pick up some fast food. That's a bad example, but because that's really not something I would do. But if I had a really busy day, I'm just tired, I don't want to deal with it, so just grab some fast food and eat, and then feel like crap because I just put that garbage in my body. You've really kind of been an inspiration. Well, I don't do that. I'm not a big fast food guy, but I couldn't think of any other example for at the moment. But you know,
we're here for you, Matt. I think.
Right.
I appreciate broad shoulders.
I appreciate
broad shoulders.
I appreciate that. But you know, you have. I mean, it's like, because I'll get, you know, I'll get on the WhatsApp group and I'll see what's going on. There'll be a joke over here and that's funny. There'll be this over here and that. And Clive will talk about how, you know, all these things he's done today, and it's like, damn. All right, big fella, you're, you know, really kicking ass over here. I can go ahead and continue. Well, yes, it's been a crazy day, but you know what? I can still continue to do good things and make better choices and all that good stuff, and then be happy because I did it. Yeah. Right.
And then if you share it as well, then it encourages someone else. And this is the great thing, is it kind of is circular. And this is what Don was saying, you know, when you help other people, it ripples outwards, and it comes back to you, because you live in a nicer environment then, because you're surrounded by people who are moving forwards. And when we're surrounded by people who are moving forwards, we tend to keep that direction going. You know, we are part of a herd and a flock and a this, that, and the other, if we choose to be. But again, it's how we steer ourselves and whether we kind of lead and whether we fall back. You know, if you look at Canadian geese, for example, flying in formation, they take it in turns to go up front, and they look after the ones who fall to the back and stuff. They're very, you know, socially minded. And yet all our media and all our news is fear-based, and it tries to divide us. And actually, I think that's the real root of the disease of addiction and social decay, you know, like, that's a disease.
True.
That is a disease. Yeah. And, you know, addiction is a symptom of dis-ease. You know, when we are out of calibration, when we are out of sorts, and I think I've lived the last 30 years out of sorts. I haven't felt part of this world, that I was able to contribute in the ways that I wanted to. And I still am not, but I've now accepted that I contribute in the ways that I do. So I've detached from the expectation of what I should be doing a little bit more, which now enables me to be at ease with myself in the moment. And because of that, I don't have to put myself back into balance all the time, because I'm trying to find that balance naturally within myself and within the choices that I make. And I would say that if you see addiction as a disease, that is the cure for the disease, maybe.
Well, see, let me make this quick little point, because I mean, this is something. I mean, it's you know, some people, it really is. I guess maybe hot button issue. I hate to use that word because it's so cliche, but still, you know, is addiction a disease, or is it, you know? And it's like it's kind of both. It's kind of all of the above. It's not. It's a lot more complicated than just pigeonholing it into this or that. You know, I mean, obviously, it began as a choice. You know, and I know there's probably some people that are listening and like, I never had a choice. Yeah, we've always got a choice. You know, whether you feel like you do or not, you've always got a choice.
It's a lot less of a choice if you come from a dysfunctional family in a poor neighborhood that's very impoverished. All the kids at school are drug dealers, and, you know, there's violence all around you. No one's helping each other out. Suddenly, it isn't so much of a choice. It becomes an escape route. I mean, I saw kids in India with glue pots up their arms, and they were 5 years old. That is not a choice a 5-year-old should be making, to be addicted to glue with tears streaming down their face. You know, that isn't a choice. That's not a disease.
Let's change the perspective a little bit, because this is saying the same thing but in a different way. Imagine you're a parent and you've got a kid that's screaming at you. You've got a hell of a lot of things to do, and you shove a mobile phone in front of their face. You know, I don't know many parents right now who are not shoving a mobile phone to their children, because basically it allows them to take up time. And it's the same thing with drugs. Yeah. You know, just someone who's unhappy, and then the only way to get them out of it is just suck on this, you know.
And I do.
Yeah.
I have a mobile phone disease at the moment. My mobile phone stays in my hand a lot of the day, you know?
Hey, I was a little bit proud of this. We this is a couple of months ago, but this actually happened, and I felt accomplished, I guess. But we went to dinner somewhere, and we had dinner, and then we were going to dinner, and then we're going to go grocery shopping. But I needed my rewards app for the grocery store, right? So we went to dinner, had dinner. It was great, whatever. Got to the grocery store, and we're walking in. I went to get my phone. I'm like, oh crap! I must have left my phone at the restaurant, which was closed. So I'm like, Kitty goes on into the store, and I'm like, I'm gonna go back here and get that. So I go back, and it's not there. I'm like, well, okay. And it had only been a few minutes, and thankfully where we live is very close by too. So I went to the house, and it was home. Point is, I had been like away from the house for an hour or more, maybe. I'm not entirely sure how long, but long enough where most people, maybe even myself, not so long ago, would have kind of freaked out because I don't have my phone. I didn't even notice I didn't have it. And I was like, that made me feel pretty good, really. I was like, man, I haven't even missed my phone.
This is part of making life better, isn't it? It's noticing what actually leaves you feeling genuinely better at your core. And, you know, if you give something up is different from stopping something. You know, like I chose to stop something a couple of weeks ago, and it wasn't like beforehand I've had to give it up and like miss it. Whereas this time I was like, I got to the point where I decided this is going to kill me. It's not good. I don't like it. I want to be free of this. And I stopped, and I haven't missed it. And I'm now enjoying not having it. So if I had a disease, it's gone, or it's shifted to something else, you know. But you know,
Right.
just this idea that if you focus in. I mean, I know when I used to smoke weed, like years and years and years ago, long time ago, I smoked it for about 8 years, and I didn't like it. It used to make me shiver. It used to make me hyper anxious. And then suddenly one day I was like, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't actually like it. So what am I doing? Like,
Why the hell am I doing that?
I didn't miss it
Right.
at all. It was like, boom, done. And it's like, even with sugar, you could think, I'm so addicted to sugar. But as soon as you get your head round, oh my God, this is actually really just horrible. And I'm getting a false spike, and it's not giving me genuine happiness, and this, that, and the other. And actually what makes me genuinely happy is being around nice people and doing this and doing that. And then you focus on that, then your life changes, and you don't have to give stuff up. It just kind of falls away. And that's what I like about our WhatsApp group is we don't talk about the addiction. We talk about making life better, I feel. And for me, that is the key to having the addictions kind of melt away a little bit, even the really strong ones, you know. Once you improve your life and you start to look at your life differently, I think the addictions start to melt away. And if that's the story that you tell yourself and the story that you believe, it's more likely to actually become a reality. I believe that story, and for me, that worked. So pick the story that you want to tell yourself, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think we answered the existential question whether or not it's a disease or not. But
Personally, I don't think it is. I think it's quite damaging to see it as a disease. But again, I'm up for discussion on that. And if anyone wants to join a podcast and argue the opposite, then I'm quite happy to listen.
I'm in agreement. I don't think it's a disease. I don't think there are diseases. There we go. I'm going to go a step further. I think it's all the same thing. It's all in our mind. There we go.
you got a great point there, Dom. That is an excellent point. I mean, I've always argued that it is a disease. Okay. But I mean, that's also coming from a different perspective, and I can understand why you would say it's not, you know, because I can argue that it's not. I can argue both ways. The only reason why I said it is because kind of like the autopilot thing. It's like I'm doing something almost against my own will. It's as if I'm doing this, and then after I've done it is when I kind of snap to, and I'm like, I just freaking did that. What the hell happened? I decided I wasn't going to do that, and here I am.
What I would argue, though, Matt, is you can put a plane on autopilot and that plane isn't diseased. It's just been flipped onto autopilot. You know, if there's a switch to put you on autopilot and off, I would try and find what that switch is and where it is and what flipped it back over again. And partly the drugs put it onto autopilot. So actually, by reducing the drugs, you're more likely to get off autopilot. So the main choice is, do I like being on autopilot, and can I do something about it?
Right. Well, I certainly advise against autopilot. In fact, I have recommended many times the what I call the awareness alarms, where you set the alarms on your phone every hour or two, whatever you feel like is best. But when that alarm goes off, you center yourself. Take some good deep breaths and get aware of yourself. Right? Because there's a lot of times we go throughout the day and when we stop and we look back, it's like, geez, I haven't really been present. Right. I haven't been, centered in my awareness all day. I've just been doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that, but I haven't really been present in my mind and focused on, yes, I am here, I am breathing. And, anyway, we've talked about this. That's a whole other podcast. So,
okay, should we wrap up? And just again, if people want to join the WhatsApp group, come to breakingmyaddictions.com and have a look for the WhatsApp group link on there. Please only join if you're going to be, a positive contributor to the group and want to use it wisely. No promotions in there, no asking for financial help. And just come in, turn your notifications off, join a few of the subgroups. And if you want to do that, that's great. And if you don't like it, you can leave. So you're on board.
It's fine. All right. Thank you, guys.
Really good to speak to you all. Right. Have a good week.
All right.
I spent too much time chasing the darkness of my mind, fighting battles that don't belong. That injustice mine to own grows the seeds that I now sow. No need to rewind or to outrun. Solve the war of what's been done. Present here I carry on. Stronger. Sometimes I gave too much, so much I could not be free. But hold the lessons, every fight has brought me here. And I am thankful, I am me. I break the chains of old routines, break the dreams of thinking that I can't take the steps to make me whole. When you won't right your wrongdoings of the past, but I am free at last. Stronger. I turned my dreams to faded whispers till I chose to make them real. Through courage and small actions, I learned how to succeed. Humility and new routines, embracing imperfection. I grow inside to mend, no longer bend your world to my direction. Stronger. I start to feel it in myself. Stronger. No need to rewind or to outrun. Solve the war of what's been done. Present here I carry on. Stronger. I've learned to value what's in my hands. Flow to peace, not fight and stand. So much stronger. Every action that goes clear. Patience brings what's meant for me. I plant the seeds for what will be this life that builds in me. Don't need to rewind or to outrun. Solve the war of what's been done. Present here I carry on. So much stronger. 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 So much stronger than before.